Chocolate is a food product made from the seeds of the cacao tree as the main ingredient. About two-thirds of the world's cacao is produced in West Africa, with 43% of it coming from the Ivory Coast. Most Central American civilizations make chocolate drinks, and there are many called centuries-old stores, museums and chocolate parks in numerous countries in Europe and America, introducing chocolate making, technology, people and famous chocolate brands. And chocolate is also an indispensable food for Valentine's Day, Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter and other holidays. Chocolate and candy sales increased during the outbreak, according to data from the American Confectionery Association. From March 15 to August 9, 2020, overall chocolate and candy sales across the U.S. increased by 3.8%. Among them, ordinary chocolate increased by 5.5%. While the premium chocolate market grew the fastest, up to 12.5%, with chocolate sales soaring and increasing beyond the overall candy market. Chocolate has a high energy value due to the addition of sugar in the production process. It is also rich in iron, calcium, magnesium, potassium, vitamin A, vitamin C and theobromine, which is a healthy anti-sedative ingredient that helps lift the spirits and enhance euphoria. Among other things. Perhaps during the epidemic people need chocolate and candy to calm themselves. But according to the Washington Post in early December 2020, the U.S. Supreme Court will hear the case of 6 Africans who are suing NestléUSA and Cargill for child slavery. On the eve of Valentine's Day this year, international rights advocates is also suing NestléUSA, Cargill, Mars, Hershey and several other chocolate companies on behalf of a group of African boys from the Republic of Mali, alleging that the companies trafficked children and forced child labor, profiting from child slaves, who made deals with plantations to harvest cheap cocoa. Lawyers for the plaintiffs say the men were deceived and lured as children into being sold to cocoa farms in Ivory Coast, where companies like NestléUSA and Cargill get their main raw materials. They were treated like slaves on the cocoa farms, working 6 days a week, picking cocoa for 14 hours a day, and receiving only a small amount of food in return. If the boys did not work hard enough, they were beaten with whips and branches. To ensure that the boys could not escape, the cocoa farmers made them sleep on the ground, with armed guards watching over them. The plaintiffs' testimonies are a far cry from the image the companies have been promoting, with both NestléUSA and Cargill emphasizing that they have invested heavily in Ivory Coast and Mali to train farmers, build schools in cocoa-producing areas, and organize supervision of plantations to prevent child labor. The chocolate companies signed the Harkin-Engel Protocol back in 2001, committing to end the use of child labor, and initially pledged to eradicate child labor exploitation and child trafficking by 2005. However, the child labor issue is not been resolved, so the World Cocoa Foundation has extended its goal of eliminating child labor to 2025. This is one of the reasons why the issue of child labor on cocoa plantations remains unresolved, as these companies portray themselves as strongly opposed to child labor, and then simply shirk their responsibilities when faced with charges. In the view of these companies, such cases should not be brought against them, but against the traffickers and farmers involved. And they argue that U.S. courts should not try violations abroad. In a brief filed on behalf of NestléUSA, the lawyers said, the real wrongdoers are the traffickers, farmers and overseers in Mali and Ivory Coast. And they argue that these lawsuits will be burdensome, and could create a disincentive to investment practices in developing economies. Sure enough, in mid-June, the U.S. Supreme Court finally voted 8-1 that it had not been sufficiently proven that the acts it alleged were related to activities carried out by the accused companies in the U.S., so the court would no longer take up the case. In other words, the court held that even if slavery did exist, the U.S. companies could not be held liable because the alleged forced labor occurred outside the United States. Prior to this, these former child laborers had repeatedly filed lawsuits in court for damages, all of which were dismissed. This is a disturbing ruling, and this loophole in the law will continue to serve as an enabler for capitalists to reap their benefits, and child laborers will continue to be enslaved. So why not boycott the cocoa, which is irrigated with the sweat and blood of illegal child labor, like you did with the cotton in Xinjiang, China? Although it was later confirmed that the Xinjiang cotton was just a rumor, the illegal employment of child labor on the Ivory Coast cocoa plantations was well documented.